What about Taxpayers Federation yesterday pulled out, they were in front of City Hall and talking about how much it would cost every property owner in the city. Have you seen those numbers he was floating?
I haven't, because I generally only look at numbers that are based on facts.
Anything else?
On that topic, sir, how do you address the issue of how much, we don't know, obviously, the amount of the city's contribution, but what would you say to people as, really just reference this whole notion that, well, whatever the Calgary portion is, whatever that number is, it's going to land on your property taxes? How do you address that?
I mean, look, that is certainly a possibility. It is rather unlikely, because normally we find other sources of funding for our capital infrastructure things that don't land on people's property taxes. So, when you look, for example, at the new public library, that had a dedicated source of funding to it. It didn't come from general revenues and property tax. So fundamentally, that's what I would be looking for here too. It's been very, very uncommon that we have found capital investments since I've been mayor that just go directly to the general property tax line. Now, we do sometimes use tax room if you want to get technical about it, but we try to keep it out of general revenues as best we can.
How concerned are you with this plebiscite coming up when you've got the Taxpayers Federation saying this is going to cost you this on your property tax bill? The no side is using Summer Olympics going over budget. Will people be able to discern all these numbers and figure out what the facts are just so they make a reasonable, intelligent decision?
Look, there's an extraordinary amount of misinformation out there, but I actually really trust citizens to make the right decisions. But let's just highlight a few of the things you mentioned. One, they're using summer games. Summer games are something like 50 times the size of winter games. It's a completely different thing. It just happens to have the same 5 rings. It's an unfair comparison. It just doesn't make any sense to make that comparison. Two, when you look at things in the past going quote unquote over budget, they went over budget because they were building stuff. We're actually not building very many things, and as a result, the risk is much, much, much lower. 3, it's a very different kind of Olympics. So when people compare it to Vancouver and say Vancouver was so much more expensive, well, we're not doing those Olympics. We're not doing the Sochi Olympics, which cost $50 to $80 billion. We're not even doing the Pyeongchang Olympics at $12.3 billion. The entire purpose of this bid is to show that you can do the Olympics in a very different way. And that is something that this city has an enormous amount of experience in, not just in running the Olympics, but in being one of the rare governments that is very proud of its record of getting almost every capital project in on time and under budget.